All right. Good evening, everyone. I would like to call to order our Academic Achievement Committee meeting. I'm Shayla Adams Stafford, Chair of this committee and the District 4 representative of the Prince George's County Board of Education, and I want to thank everyone for being here this evening. May I have a motion to approve the November 8th, 2021 meeting agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, so now we'll move on to the September 27th meeting minutes. May I have a motion to approve the September 27th, 2021 meeting minutes?
So moved.
Okay, second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I think we had 3 there.
Yep.
Oh, okay, great. All right, thank you. So we have no registered public comment speakers this evening. And so we're going to move right on to item 3.0, which are our discussion items. And so I'm really grateful to Dr. White and her team for being here today to talk a bit more about literacy, particularly in mathematics. We know that literacy is that gateway in all disciplines and all content areas. And so we're excited to hear a bit more about what's happening in PGCPS, specifically in mathematics. And then we'll also talk a bit today about an update on CTE. So I'll turn it over to Dr. White.
Thank you so much. This evening, I have the pleasure and honor to be represented by our colleagues in our mathematics department. We have all 3, our elementary, middle school, and high school supervisors. So Janita Nelson Jennerette is our elementary mathematics supervisor. Dr. Michelle Dyson is our middle school supervisor, and Dr. Stephanie McCloud is our high school supervisor. I'm going to turn it over to them, and I'm also thankful to have on the call Dr. McDaniel, who's the director of curriculum instruction, who leads this team. And then once they finish, I'll turn it over to Dr. John Paul Cadet, who is the director of career and technical education. So Stephanie, if you could go ahead and share your screen.
Is everyone able to see the screen?
Yes.
All right. So Dr. White pretty much gave the introduction. This is literacy and mathematics K-12. Let's see. And this is the board slide. I'm sure that you've seen that. I want to talk with discussing the mathematical progressions K-12. The primary goal of the mathematical progressions is college and career readiness. And as you look across the progressions, you will see that there are 2 things that stand out across each grade level from K to high school, specifically the standards for mathematical practice and the geometry standards. The standards for mathematical practice speak to the literacy in mathematics, which focuses on how students attack problems, the thinking that goes into their the thinking that goes into what they want to do with the problem, how a problem is broken down, as well as their ability to persevere and work through a problem-solving strategy. Geometry is the one standard in mathematics that goes through K-12, so which means students start learning geometry in kindergarten, and it follows all the way through to high school content. We have 3 big rocks for K-12 mathematics, beginning with collaborative planning. The collaborative planning cycle takes teachers through 4 phases, and there's no specific place to start. It depends on where that school is. Typically, you would want to look at beginning perhaps with unit and or lesson planning. Once you've done that, you want to pull some student work assignments, student work samples, and look at those, get the data from those samples, and move forward as to what type of interventions. Does it need to be retaught, revisited? Do I need to review it? And then perhaps study groups on your problem of practice and those challenges that may be unique to your building. So our goal is to help support each school and the school leadership and helping the teachers get through a collaborative planning cycle with fidelity, and that they are maximizing the time that they have together. Our second big rock, and this is not in any particular order, just based on the way they are on the slide, is our partnership with the special ed department. As you can see, there's a graphic there that shows what equality looks like, what differentiation looks like, and what UDL looks like. Well, while UDL does provide access for all students, what we've focused on and helped to move to, in addition to UDL, is specifically designed instruction. I'm sorry, I'm a little tongue-tied. When we talk about specialized design instruction for students, if you take a look at the student that is maybe perhaps the student that's on the 2 boxes, specially designed instruction would mean that in addition to that student being on those boxes, he or she still can't see, so he needs glasses. That's something that would be written into that student's IEP that is specifically designed for that student to access the curriculum. And that is one, in addition to UDL, that is one of the goals that we are helping our teachers move to. So as we're talking about collaborative planning, in addition to that, looking at your population in your classroom and where do you need to put those things into place to help your students in addition to UDL. Lastly, you will see the 3 literacy mats. One is for elementary, one is for middle, one is for high. Each mat includes reading, writing, discourse, and modeling that should happen across each grade level. Specifically, you will notice that the modeling cycle for each one is a little bit different. It's one way for elementary. As you graduate towards high school, it's more like a flow chart to help students through a problem-solving strategy. There are some pieces that are across each. We talk about 3 read strategies at all grade levels, but then it gets a little bit more detailed as we go up in grade level.
Steph, go back. I want to sit right there. Go back. Okay, good. I want to start right here with the curriculum framework. Back one more time. The curriculum framework progress guide is the heart of our big rock. And it's so important that as a team that we all understand the nature and the development of our curriculum framework progress guide from K through 12. The curriculum framework progress guide provides teachers with, it's a tool for direction and clarification about what it is that we want students to know and be able to do. It provides teachers with a deepening, it helps them deepen their understanding of what each standard means. How does it connect to, how does literacy connect to those standards? And what are those outcomes that we want students to have as they progress through the learning years? Coherence is critical. It's important that, like we shared with you, the progressions that teachers understand what happened K-5 so we don't just start at middle school teaching middle school mathematics. It's important that our teachers have an understanding of what happened prior to when students came to middle school, and then they need to know where students are going. So the curriculum framework progress guide provides teachers with that information. You can go ahead and hit it now, Stephanie. What you see in front of you now is that our curriculum framework progress guides, each one of us included a new component to our curriculum framework progress guide. And this new component was based off of professional development data. It was based off of classroom observation data, and it was based off of student achievement data. What was that missing piece, or the piece we needed to add to continue to boost the curriculum framework progress guide? And this happened last year during the pandemic. Our teachers needed instructional guidance. They needed lesson seeds. So each one of these, at each grade level, each grade band, you'll see that we have created lesson seeds to help our teachers, one, understand what does it look like? How should I be teaching it? How do I infuse literacy, and how do I embed literacy throughout my lesson? How do I assess to know that students understand what's being taught? With our curriculum framework progress guides, you see at the bottom, we have supplemental resources. Click one more time, Steph. And Supplemental resources are just what it says. They complement our core mathematics curriculum. They are not our curriculum. We do not teach from a textbook. We have worked with Grant Wiggins with book Understanding by Design to create our document. We've had partnership with the Dana Center, and the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics have served as a partner with us, as well as our MSDE math representatives. So textbooks don't drive our instruction. Our curriculum document drives instruction for our teachers because we know it is grounded in research. So if you look, each one of our documents, we have provided teachers and students with resources that's going to help provide teachers with additional ways of applying content, with enhancing student learning experiences around engagement, helping students continue to show what they can and cannot do with those resources. Click staff. And we know with a high quality curriculum and high quality materials and resources, we know that we must embed and provide teachers with high quality professional learning. So you can give teachers a high performing curriculum, but if we don't provide them with the opportunities or meet them where they are in their learnings, then we're lost. So when you see focus, we focus the meeting the needs of all learners. And we say meeting the needs of all learners, not just our students, but our teachers, because our teachers are our learners as well. So we have 4 areas that we have focused on this particular year, K through 12. One is around that collaborative planning, goes back to what Dr. McCloud shared earlier, is that what are we doing in collaborative planning to ensure that we are reaching all of our learners? What does our coaching, evening coaching sessions or our one-on-one coaching sessions embed, and how do we meet the individual needs of our teachers as well as down to what our students need? And then we also focus our professional development around content and the supplemental resource trainings that we shared with you. And then everything is grounded in data. It is data-driven inquiry. Everything that we do, all professional development is grounded in data. One, from the data results we receive from teacher feedback, from when we collect common assessment and benchmark data, everything is grounded in data, and then how we trickle that down to what teachers do with data in the classroom.
So I'm going to discuss our K-12 assessment system. This system guides and informs instruction. Our design, it mirrors our curriculum and our instructional expectations, and they are aligned to the Maryland College and Career Ready standards. We employ a range of assessment strategies, and we include formative, interim, and summative assessments, and that resulting data guides instruction and student learning. You can click Dr. McCloud. So when looking at the formative assessment process in those curriculum connections, specifically across K-12, the goal of formative assessment is to monitor student learning and to provide that ongoing feedback to students, and also for teachers to improve instruction and to also improve academic success, which is why our formative assessments occur with greater frequency, and they are embedded in each of our curriculum documents. And our interventions and tutoring opportunities. In order to support that interrupted instruction that occurred as a result of the pandemic, each of our levels, we provide interventions and also tutoring opportunities. We've listed each intervention, which they are evidence-based, they're sequential, they're systematic, they're explicit, and they're cumulative. And they promote grade level curricula through problem solving and reasoning. Each of our mathematics interventions address data that's identified through targeted skill deficits. And that data can come from, of course, our formative, our interim, and also our summative assessments. And then our interventions track that progress regularly. In addition to those interventions, we do have several tutoring opportunities that our families can also take advantage of to support that interrupted instruction. All right. Do we have any questions?
First, I wanted to just thank you all so much for this presentation. I was taking notes and trying to look at the same time and follows, but thank you. I wanted to just see if any of my colleagues had any questions first, and then I'll ask a few.
No, thank you. I'm driving right now, that's why I can't turn my camera on. It's ironic. I'm actually going to be organizing a conversation around the same topic for my organization on Wednesday, and I'll just ask you some of the questions I want to ask some of the folks on that, which is, how are we using some of the recovery money to address potential math recovery during COVID? And the second question is, what I use the word autonomy. What freedoms do school leaders have in how they allocate resources to address the specific needs of a school in relation to math and math proficiency?
So Curtis, Board Member Valentine, I'll jump in and answer the first part, and then I'll turn it over to the team to add to what I'll indicate, and then to add to the comment about the autonomy at school level. With the grant funds that we received, we needed to make sure that, number one, intervention and tutoring was a huge component. And so that last slide, and you're driving, so I'm not sure if you were able to see it, where they listed out, making sure that they found evidence-based strategies, evidence-based tutoring intervention programs that had high quality ratings that also linked and aligned to the curriculum that they teach every single day. We identified and trying to ensure additional opportunities was to really, I think Janita said it best when she said interrupted learning. And so how do we provide an extra opportunity for children to do that? That was also provided in the summer. The other way we provided it, they mentioned it earlier, and I think it was Dr. Dyson who spoke about the ways that they updated their curriculum documents. So in the middle of the pandemic, I want to say the summer before last year when we returned, they identified where they were really teaching and following Wiggins' model of teaching teachers how to plan, that we were at a point where we were no longer in a position to really help them teach and learn how to build it from scratch. So they spent a lot of our funds was spent on curriculum development for teams to write them for them, write the lesson plans for them, write the PowerPoint presentations that teachers would need to use so that we ensure that what they did teach was automatically aligned. One of the things we try to get away from are teachers creating things that are not aligned to the rigor of the standard. And so it takes a lot when we talk about curriculum writing and paying the number of teachers we have to bring in. We have to train them and then teach them. And then the staff has to go back behind, work in tandem with them to make sure that they're aligned and they're accurate. So that was several of the places that funds went to. We also spent funds making sure that we were addressing population. So ESOL, they spent funds making sure that we had appropriate supports for ESOL and special education. You heard them talk a lot of this about specialized interventions for our special education students. And so really looking at our different population of students to see where we can make impacts. And then I'll turn it over to the math team in case there's something that I missed with that question and to answer about the autonomy at the school.
I wanted just to address the autonomy. We do provide an intervention list, and in that list, they are evidence-based products, and those are the products that we recommend to schools. So in a sense, the autonomy is being able to choose those products that have that evidence-based research behind it. We do also have another sheet where we have resources, but they're not intended for intervention. So we do provide some guidance for schools as far as the best tools to use for intervention.
So I wanted to ask a few questions. And first, again, I just wanted to thank you all for the in-depth presentation and also just, kind of breaking down the approach to the way that literacy is happening in math classrooms across the district. I wanted to ask specifically just about, well, I'll start with my question around giving students access to real world context. So I think that one of the takeaways that I had from the presentation that Dr. White and Dr. Goldson gave a few weeks ago was specifically around innovation in mathematics as a part of the strategic plan. And one of those concepts being thinking about how do we provide real world mathematical problems and context for students every day, right? And leveraging project-based learning, leveraging, other different instructional methods. And so I'm wondering, how does that show up in the planning cycle that you all shared with us, or how does that show up in some of the supplemental documents that teachers are afforded? So maybe we could just start with that question, and then I'll go to Board Member Monteiro as well.
So I'll take that question. That was an excellent question because exactly what you're speaking to around giving students access to real world problems daily led us to why we needed to create the instructional guidance document, those lesson Cs, because as we created those lesson Cs, we ensured that embedded in those lesson Cs were real world problems. Inside of our instructional guidance document, you'll find giving kids access and choice around projects, they can use choice boards and layered curriculums, and giving students access to bringing their own experiences to the mathematics classroom. And it's through those literacy strategies that help support our students with real world problems, helping students unlock the problem, allowing students to use those discourse moves in the classroom as they are engaged in those real world tasks. So so each one of our lesson seeds provide teachers that real access to those real world problems. And speaking to collaborative planning, when we look at lessons, we focus on, as we identify a common lesson as a team, we look at what are we going to use as evidence that shows that our students are able to engage in real world tasks. And then we come back in the cycle, we bring back student work to examine. So yes, that is at the heart of our instructional guidance document. It's at the heart of our professional development. It's at the heart of our collaborative planning cycle. It's at the heart of all of our partnerships with special ed and the ESOL office as well.
Thank you so much. Board Member Monteiro.
Thanks very much, Madam Chair. I just wanted to, maybe if you all could offer some commentary through an HR lens in terms of what the state of the workforce is with respect to mathematics instructors at the middle and high school level. Vacancies, any challenges you're seeing there that you can speak to?
I'll let I know the answer, but I'll let Dr. Dyson, Dr. McCloud definitely respond to that and respond to how we're supporting schools in absence of great quality certified teachers. And Michelle and Stephanie, if you could, talk a little bit about in your response, the difference of what it takes to hire a teacher teaching mathematics at the elementary level versus the secondary level.
I'll start, and Dr. Dyson, you can finish up. There are always challenges specifically for high school mathematics and middle school mathematics, because you're looking for someone who has a specialty, who is a mathematician that can also articulate mathematics in a way that students can understand. So there are always challenges with respect to hiring teachers. What you really want in a high school mathematics teacher is someone who has an elementary way of delivery, but a college level knowledge of the content, which is not necessarily the person that is out there that wants to teach math. So through our professional development, we try to make sure that we are building that teacher and helping them to get to that place. We do professional development. We have put those things in a place to try to build some of the gaps for teachers where there are not teachers in classrooms. But it has been a challenge for as long as I've been in Prince George's County, and I'm in my 29th year. So there has always been a challenge with respect to high school mathematics teachers, period. It's one of those things that everybody thinks they can teach math until you are immersed in a mathematics classroom with students and having to negotiate how to deliver it. all of us understand when we look at an algebra problem that X equals this, but it is not just about what X equals, is how do you get the students to understand the how and the why of what that is about. So those challenges, I'm not sure that's something that we'll get away from, but I think we are doing the best we can to help to massage, compensate, and do what we can to help teachers get through. I'll turn it over to Dr. Dyson.
Sure, and I just want to, that's sort of why I'm asking. As a PGCPS graduate from 20 years ago, I mean, and sort of seeing that this is a common issue, I guess I want to spend some time talking about the gaps because of the challenges you mentioned. So that's the genesis of the question.
But that what you're speaking to is a national problem.
Exactly. I was
That's
going
not just a Prince George's thing.
I recognize that, but I think the focus of the conversation now is I'm interested in knowing the gaps in our county. So that's kind of why I take the point that it's a national issue, but I really want to spend some time here understanding the gaps.
Yeah, and I think Dr. McCloud hits on the concern that we have at every level. But I want to add this one piece for here in Prince George's County, since we're speaking of Prince George's County. Our Maryland College Career Ready standards, even if I bring in a mathematician to teach mathematics, it is the conceptual understanding that our teachers struggle with. Yes, our teachers can get the answer, but being able to use double tape number lines, being able to use algebra tiles, being able to help students make a conceptual understanding of why it works, we struggle right there across all levels. So as like I said before, why we make changes and why we add additional things to our documents or how our professional development continues to change, we allow the data to drive every decision we make. We know it's a national issue, but here in Prince George's County, what do we put in place to help shore up and support teachers with this particular work? So that's been a challenge for us. Every year and every time you think you have it, okay, I have a pocket of teachers that we've been training for 2 years. Now my coaches are going in there. Oh, wait a minute, where did that teacher go? We start the cycle all over again. So it is a challenge. It's a real challenge here in Prince George's County with supporting teachers, but we're up for the challenge. We just make sure that we look at every school year, every month, every day, every teacher based off of what their needs are and provide them the support that they need.
It's just the same thing that we do for teachers is what we expect teachers to do for students.
And Board Member Montero, that's why last year when we really were trying to build teachers that have that capacity, and we realized based on the workforce, we've got to try to really meet them where they are and build capacity at a much lower level and then bring them up, right? Because you don't want to sacrifice what children are going to get every single, because we want them to mold them into this other way. And so we shifted a lot of the ways in which we practice because we realize it's a huge gap. I will say that, HR has really tried to have a lot of focused fairs. Like we've had some that just really focused on mathematics. I know even CTE's here tonight, they're going to have one focused just on that. So just really trying to find ways that we can provide incentives and close that gap, because mathematics is a struggle for us.
Yeah, I totally hear and respect that. And I probably should have given a preamble of like, if I'm giving grades for effort, y'all get an A. I get this is a very difficult situation. I guess what I'm trying to understand is sort of knowing it's challenging, having a better and granular sense of like, what does that look like in terms of staffing, in terms of the retention, and maybe it's data you can provide later. I get, there's.
Oh yeah, you want to know specifically like where we have vacancies?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I'm trying to see where we have vacancies, specific acute issues.
Okay.
Just looking for solutions. I'm not trying to jam anybody up.
And we can definitely, I can work with HR. I'm sure our teams just know because they're out in buildings, so that they know where the schools are that cries come from. They know where the subs are. So they're trying to, help fill those gaps. Where we have coaches, how we've utilized coaches previously, we're trying to use different to really batch out the supports, the places where some schools might have 4 vacancies and 3 of them could be mathematics. So our team is really clear on that, but I will grab a comprehensive list from HR and provide that to you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I just had another question just around the curriculum development. So maybe you could talk me through sort of why we're using an internally developed curriculum as opposed to the adoption of maybe a standard curriculum? And then also sort of when was the last time that the curriculum was updated, particularly for math?
Well, the curriculum is updated every year. We make revisions and they are research-based. And as Dr. Dyson said, we have partnered with several outside entities to help support our curriculum. Specifically, the high school math curriculum was vetted by the state in 2019. And we received a very high rating. The rating was 4, which it was the top out of 4 was the top. And to say that what we have done in-house, based on all the training and the professional development that we have received, has put us in a place where our curriculum is one of the tops in the state, where to the point that people are asking us to support them and they want to use ours because it is that good. What it is, the disparity lies between the written and the taught curriculum, what is happening with respect to what teachers are doing in the classroom. I know that Dr. Dyson and Ms. Nelson's curriculum, Janetta, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Their curriculums are also up to be vetted as well, but because we work together in that, I don't see how theirs will fall any shorter than what we have done at the high school level at this time. And I'm gonna stop and let Dr. Dyson and or Janetta speak.
I was gonna say,
Can I
appreciate
just
that
add
answer.
this
Sure.
piece?
Mhm.
Because this is very important for all of us to keep in mind. When you are looking for curriculum and you're purchasing curriculum or using an outside vendor, no curriculum is ever going to give you all the components that you need to ensure that that you are meeting the level of expectations from Maryland College and Career Ready standards. That's why we have supplemental resources that we use to support and provide our teachers. So when we build our own internal curriculum document, we have embedded what are those research-based strategies, tools that the National Council of Mathematics has said that our kids need. What have Maryland MSDE stated the requirements in order for our students to be successful on MCAP and to be successful with being college and career ready. So we know that when we look at our curriculum, we have embedded and included all of those components that make a rich curriculum document to support teachers. We do look at supplemental resources and curriculum documents and textbooks do not give us all the things that we need to ensure that our teachers have what they need in the classroom.
And our goal is to provide a document that is completely aligned, so that teachers are not having to necessarily go to this and go to that place. That when they come to the curriculum document, the framework progress guide is their one-stop shop. It's all here. And even if we have supplemental resources, they are embedded in there to say, well, you know, when you get to this standard, you can also use this to support it. So it is all in that one document. It is completely aligned to what the state and what the NCTM standards are.
The other thing I would just add, I'm sorry, Board Member Adam Stafford, that I would just add is, you know, sometimes even our textbook adoptions, we may have an adoption and then we may have standards that change. We don't go through a textbook adoption potentially for another 6 years. So we can never not write curriculum. We can never not stop. Every year, our curriculums have to be updated to what's current and what's relevant in that moment in time.
Yeah, I'm hearing when you were, or I think it was when Dr. McCloud was sort of talking about a bit of the variance between what has been written and then what happens actually in practice, and thinking about some of what Dr. Dyson spoke about in terms of some of the challenges around helping teachers with the conceptual understanding of math. Have you all considered maybe leveraging some of the, and this isn't necessarily to say a textbook adoption, but sort of like some of the curriculums that are available that touch on a lot of what you're saying for really some of the newer teachers that aren't able to do that high level of planning and professional development to put together a lot of those concepts, but rather need something even more scripted or something that, you know, really aligns all of these pieces very succinctly so that they can quickly use it within the classroom with students.
I'll speak to that for elementary. We did talk about the vacancies at secondary, but one of the things that we see at elementary, they're generalists. So many of our elementary teachers sometimes don't see themselves as a math person. So our big thing is we're all math people. So the curriculum that we have does provide more explicit connections to what that conceptual understanding piece looks like. Our professional development, we go really deep into instructional strategies to support a teacher that we traditionally were taught, fill out this worksheet, here's the answer, is correct, but why is the answer correct? And some of our teachers need that support with being able to explain the why and the how and get that deep conceptual understanding. So in our curriculum, we make sure we have that balance, that rigor piece where conceptual understanding, procedural skill and fluency, and application are equal. We can't have, it's like a three-legged stool. If we have one leg shorter than the other, the student's going to fall. So conceptual understanding is explicit in our documents because we know that that's something that our teachers need support with. And unfortunately, our resources sometimes teeter. They have perhaps more procedural skill and fluency and not enough conceptual understanding. And it's just one of those things that we have to really pay close attention to. And that's why our internal documents really support all three parts of rigor equally.
And I think it's just, I mean, when we talk about, nationally, culturally responsive teaching and learning, what has happened here in Prince George's County really is a model of how to adapt a framework like the eight mathematical practices to make sense for your community and to make sense for the students and the teachers and the community that you serve. And really, the documents that you all have created, I know if I was in the classroom, I'm like, whoa, this is a lot of great resources. These are a lot of great things that can be added into a lesson. And I'm just wondering, if a teacher doesn't have that chutzpah to really dig into all of the great content that you all have created, could that cause a great variance in how Algebra 1 is taught at one school with a teacher that has that content knowledge and they're digging into these great documents you all have made versus someone who's like, I still need to give high quality instructional materials, but I'm just like not professionally at that level, even with the great PD that I'm getting to do that. And so having something that's standardized that might be able to, account for some of that difference.
Can I just add, exactly what you just said is the component that we share, which is called our instructional guidance documents. Those are scripted lessons. So if a teacher walked in tomorrow, a substitute walked in tomorrow, they can open up for middle school, you can open up a presentation, a PowerPoint with everything on your slides, with notes, with applets, with everything you need to follow that particular lesson. So yes, that was our added piece that we needed to provide teachers. So yes, we have teachers who could take that curriculum framework progress guide and build their lessons and bring all those components. But then we have a group of teachers who needed more structure, who needed just show me how to do it. What does it look like with that piece of it? So that's what we brought to the table with our instructional guidance documents at each one of our grade levels. So yes, there are scripted lessons.
In many places, they added videos that shows the teacher.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, just videos.
Especially elementary. If you're looking for anything in elementary specifically, and I know in middle and high, they have a lot of QR codes. You get to a place and you're stuck, you flag on the QR code and it's a video right there to show you what you should be doing. Those were the pieces that we made sure we added at the beginning of last school year.
And as we transition to Canvas, each of the teams have built out exemplar courses. So not only they have all those resources that are in the curriculum, but also now they have modules on Canvas to help to guide the instruction as well.
Okay. Were there any other questions from any other colleagues? All right. Well, thank you so much for this presentation. I feel like my questions were answered. But if there are any other follow-up questions, I definitely, sorry, my toddler just got home. So yeah, we'll go ahead and move on to CTE.
So thank you so much. And I'm going to let the math drop off if that's okay with the team. And then Dr. Cadet, it will be just you and I turn it over to you to share your screen. And he's going to just walk us through career and technical education in Prince George's County.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
So I'd like to begin the presentation on current technical education.
And you're on mute, Dr. Cadet.
I knew that. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. So I'd like to begin our presentation on current technical education. Good evening, everyone. Jean-Paul Cadet. I'm the Director of Current Technical Education. And something that is not really commonly known about CTE is that CTE is actually an instructional technique that we use to connect real-time learning with students' aspirations for whatever it is they might want to pursue upon their graduation from high school. A lot of people think that CTE is separate from if either I want to go to college or I want to go straight to the workforce. If I want to go straight to the workforce, then I need to do CTE. If I want to go to college, I need to do something else. Whereas that can be the furthest thing from the truth, because so many of our students that complete a CTE track, they actually graduate with at higher rates. They graduate with a focus in terms of being able to go to colleges and know what careers they want or what majors they want to pursue. And they also end up finishing faster because they with less debt, because through our programming, they graduate with certifications, licensures, and endorsements that allow them to be readily employable upon graduation. So what is CTE? It is an approach that matches student interest with programs that help them seek out and explore whatever it is they might want to pursue in the future. CTE is located in approximately all of our schools. We have them located in all of our high schools. We have them in several middle schools and even featured in a few of our middle schools. And again, CTE is the choice for all students if they want to do something in their life. That's the easiest way we've been saying it, because there isn't a program or pathway that we offer that doesn't help provide some insight into what a student can do post PGCPS graduation. So we cover the gambit in terms of student interest, in terms of what is readily employable. And it's also important to know that the criteria to be labeled as a CTE program is it must be high skill, high wage, and high demand. That means that we're only training students in pathways and in programming that is rigorous, that will definitely lead to a beyond a entry-level employment status, and also something that is develops some level of technical skill and learning. So right now, the student application window is open and students must apply to a CTE program through our specialty program applications. And from that, we go through a review process. And once students are accepted, they are able to matriculate through a CTE program at their school. But again, what we talk about is the promise of CTE. And again, our promise is that CTE equals college and career. And that, again, students matriculate with, they go into the workforce at higher rates and earn an added earning competitive wage, more so than others. They also have a refined focus on their majors. I know me personally, when I got to college, I changed my major 3 times. And that, you know, that was a challenge because I was still trying to figure some things out. Whereas a student in CTE, they go through a lot of these preparatory programs, they go through a lot of training, they go through a lot of skill acquisition. And through that, they leave with a clear focus and a clear understanding of what they want to pursue beyond high school. And again, when they complete one of the programs, they take what we call the TSA, which is their technical skills assessment. And that is the test that allows for certification, licensures, and endorsements in whatever field of study that they have chosen. The point to highlight about that is that these are the industry level licensures and certifications that students are being issued. So it's not a student level certification as a nursing practitioner. It's actually what the Maryland Board of Nursing issues to anyone interested in nursing in the field currently. So what we are doing is we're making sure that our students are leaving, that they are readily employable, and they are highly trained to do whatever it is they opt to do post-graduation. And then equally, CTE also equals success. Like all of the data shows that they have a higher on-time graduation rate. There are several dual enrollment options embedded into all of our pathways. And again, I've already mentioned the certifications, licensures. And then it's also, they get to seek out their pathways earlier on for free. We had a parent come back and give us the story about how she has two daughters, both in PGCPS. One graduated, went to college, and thought she wanted to do nursing. And it wasn't until she took the first phlebotomy class, I believe it was, the daughter realized she doesn't do well with blood. So here it is, the parents like, wait, we spent all this time and all this money and all this effort making sure that you got to this school for nursing and you were all gung-ho. And she's like, yeah, I don't do blood. Whereas her sister was in a CTE program and was able to say, I tried this in your Summer Explorers program. I realized that's not what I wanted. So I found my calling in construction. And she turned out to be our top welding graduate out of Crossland. So we found that having these early experiences helps channel students' focus. And also we've seen that once students have that refined focus, they are more focused and committed to completing school and to pursuing just whatever's in front of them. So when people think of CTE, people don't normally say, oh, you talking about VOTEC. Oh, you talking, and we're like, no, we are not talking about VOTEC, no. So CTE Redefined can be best illustrated by the listing of the courses and pathways that we provide. This isn't shop class anymore. So this is more hands-on, this is more cultural awareness, this is more societal impact. This is about smart technology, STEM technology, you name it, we are a part of it. And we make sure that everything that we offer is 21st, 22nd century. We make sure that all of our students are learning with industry level, industry grade resources and equipment. And we're making sure that they're receiving training from people in the field who can provide meaningful consultation to let them know that these are the expectations and these are the requirements of this profession in the field once you reach that level. So again, as I had indicated, where is CTE? CTE is everywhere. So this is a listing of our program charts. And as you can see, we have several pathways under the cluster of construction and development. We offer electrical, carpentry, HVAC, masonry, plumbing, welding, and construction design management. Equally, under business management and finance, we offer accounting, business administrative services, business management, academy of finance, and business marketing. When it comes to consumer services and hospitality, we feature barbering, cosmetology, culinary arts, and ProStart. Also, we have manufacturing, engineering, technology, where we have focused our efforts into Project Lead the Way, which is a nationally recognized program that leads to engineering. And then we took it a step further and said, how can we have engineering, we have computer science, we have all of these, we have technology education, but we don't have it all together. So what we did was we created a program of study called InText. And we presented this program of study to MSDE, and they have provided preliminary approval. So we are in the process of getting it finalized as a MSDE recognized program of study, where we will be teaching integrated technology, engineering, and computer sciences. And we're going to launch it first out of Crossland and then expand it to 4 other schools in the coming year. Additionally, we have environmental, agricultural, natural resources, and we have case for animal science and we have case for natural resources. The funny story is we have case animal science at Gwen Park. So we did a site visit at Gwen Park because we are trying to figure out how to build a unit for Oliver the pig, because we literally raise a pig and we have chickens and a fox and other animals in our case program at Gwynn Park. So then equally so at Fairmont and High Point, we have the natural resources where we're doing more horticulture and more energy conservation techniques for environmental studies and environmental development. For our arts, media, communication, we have interactive media production. For health and biosciences, we have biomedical, we have certified nursing, certified clinical medical, and pharmacy tech. For transportation technologies, we have auto body repair, auto body technician. And if I can also add in terms of where we're going with our auto programs, we are also expanding our curriculum to include smart technology, to include electric cars, and to include sensors that for driverless vehicles. And then we have information technology, which covers our IT networking, our computer science, and Talent Ready. So Talent Ready is our early middle college program that has a specific focus on IT. And we have a partnership through Capital Tech, Bowie, and PGCC, and Employ Prince George's. And through this program, we ensure that these students will be just inundated with everything around IT. And then when they complete in 4 years, they complete with their diploma and their associates in information technology in either data programming, cybersecurity, or information processing. And then we are, through our partnership, they will then complete their last 2 years, either Bowie or Capital, again, with their degree in IT, all the while being lined up for administrative level, mid-level, executive level, programming level jobs through Employ Prince George's. Then we have human resources, where we have our early childhood education, and we also have our Child Development Association, and we have our Teacher Academy of Maryland. And then in the other side of human resource services, we have our firefighter, EMT, we have a Homeland Security, we also have criminal justice and law enforcement, we have our JRTC, Army, Navy, Air Force, and then we have our Public Safety Academy. To address some of the needs in terms of the overcrowding in the northern schools, we implemented an initiative called CTE Evening, where students are able to work during the day and go to school to take CTE courses in the evening. And that program is located at Bladensburg High School. And we currently offer these 3 options, where students can either do the nursing program, carpentry, or culinary arts. Additionally, we have programs for adolescent single parenting, for parents, and that is located at those high schools, where we go and we have a footprint in each of those schools where we provide resources and supports to any adolescent single parent that attends that high school. We also offer career research development for students who are interested in any type of work-based learning or half-day schedule that includes them going out and seeking work. They would come through CTE to go and have to enlist through the Career and Research Development Program. And then last but not least is our Apprenticeship Maryland program, where we have identified students who are able to work in an apprenticeship through a number of programs and a number of organizations that have asked and requested to partner specifically with PGCPS. And that is CTE. Are there any questions?
All right. Awesome. So many amazing programs that we have here in our county, and this is great to just, get a full comprehensive look at all that we have to offer here. Just really excited to learn a bit more. I wanted to know maybe, my first question is around, are any of these programs available to middle school students? I know at Thomas Johnson Middle School, they are a school where all of the students take a STEM course, which I think is phenomenal. And they have this, great high achieving robotics team there. Really, in an ideal world, we have kids coding in elementary school, right? And so, what are there CTE opportunities for younger students as well? And are there plans to expand some of the great programs we have at the high school level?
So yes, we have several Project Lead the Way programs at the middle school level. We also have a current partnership with Amazon in their Boot Up program, and that is teaching coding at the elementary level. We also have IT programs in some of our middle schools, and we also have computer science, computational thinking in our middle schools as well. So we have a number of them spread out throughout some of our middle and elementary schools.
And one of the other things he mentioned, but just to give some more clarity to it, we have a Summer Explorers program for our 8th grade students to allow them to get a taste of CTE before they come into and matriculate into high school, to see if, how, it could impact the choices that they make. And then currently we have a Junior Achievement Finance Park, and we're really working with students to be more exposed. And Dr. Cadet is kind of working with Dr. McDaniel, is that how do we really, we're going to be moving it down to 7th grade. How do we really get students at an earlier age to hear about all that we have going on, so they can really be intentional about their choices for high school programming. So that's exciting to see at the younger level. The other thing I would just add is Dr. Cadet and I have had an opportunity to engage with other CTE directors across the United States. And some of the research that we're looking at that has come out of that is just different opportunities for students at the middle school level. So it's definitely something on our radar and something that we want to continue to explore.
Yeah, if my other colleagues, I think I see a couple of hands up. Okay, go ahead, Board Member Thomas and then Board Member Montero.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair, and thank you all for the presentation. My question is tied to something that you just mentioned, Dr. White, which is kind of around like how we, I don't know if the word is recruit, but really expose our students to the opportunities that they have to do these things. I'm curious as to like how much exposure and awareness like students throughout the county get, as opposed to if they happen to be districted to a school that offers a program, then they know more about it, versus if they are in some other place, they may not. Could you just speak to a little bit about like how students are learning about these opportunities?
Yeah, and Jean Paul, I'll start off, and then I know
Okay.
you add in, because I know I won't cover them. I definitely won't cover them all. What I would say is, when we recruit for our specialty programs in general, we have a whole communication plan, whether it's social media, pushing things out through our communications team, pushing things out on our websites. We put them all together. So we don't just do science and tech. Those areas that our families are really familiar with, we do our CTE at the same time. So last week, actually, for the last 2 weeks, we had a specialty program showcase. And then last week, we also had a CTE, in addition to that, a CTE open house. For example, I believe he had about 583 parents register for that event, and maybe like 130 that actually came that night. So we try to advertise. If you come on his website at all, we had the open house, we have it all over the place, because we really want our parents to really move away from that concept of VOTEC, to really understand that CTE is not an and or. It can be both. Like, you can be in a CTE program and go to college, or you can just come out of a CTE program and make 6 figures your first year out of high school. It's an and or. It's because you have a love, a passion for something, and or it's gearing you as an extra credential moving into college. So we're always looking for new opportunities. If you all have any ideas on definitely other ways that we can promote it, because we really want to shift the narrative about CTE. And then John Paul, I'll make one last statement. By 2026, I could be off a couple of years, but I want to say by 2026, MSDE wants 45% of our students coming out of high school with the CTE credentials. So that means that we're trying to find every avenue, which is why we moved to the hub, which is why we put, really look across the district and look at where all the programs are. And we really try to work with parents. Is there a specific program that your child is really interested in, but it's not in their particular school? And then I'll volley to John Paul, because I know you probably do so many other things that I just haven't even mentioned.
Thank you. So yes, we do all of those things. And then additionally, we also utilize a data source. So every student has a student account for Naviance. So when they go into Naviance, they do their career interest. So what we do is we started pulling that data from Naviance. So we've identified students in the 5th grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade. There was another grade, and 8th grade, 7th and 8th grade. And we just pulled their data. And based on that information, we pushed out literature to those students to say, hey, we heard you were interested in plumbing. These are all of the things we have in construction. Hey, we heard you were interested in being a doctor. These are all of the options we have for the health professions. So we don't just limit it to, well, here's nursing. No, here's the pharmacy tech. Here's the medical assistant. Here's all of it. So we've been very intentional around doing that. And then the additional thing has been our outreach through social media and also through visuals. So what people should be seeing this year is that if you go to a middle school, you will see a poster that has the high school poster that they naturally feed into with all of the CTE programs listed there. So then that way, even at the middle school level, you kind of know, well, from Gwen Park Middle, I traditionally go to Gwen Park High. So when you're walking in the halls of Gwen Park Middle, you will see a CTE poster that tells you these are all of the programs that are offered at Gwen Park. So you can kind of start building that knowledge earlier on, like, wait a minute, I saw I'm interested in finding more about that. And then we couple that with our Summer Explorers program where middle school students are able to have the opportunity to come and sample a variety of CTE courses and pathways so that they can refine their focus once they enter high school. So we are constantly just pushing out content to parents and to students down to the elementary level.
Thank you so much for that. And I thank you, Board Member Thomas, for your question. I just wanted to add a quick idea in before we go to Board Member Montero. I know the goal is to increase the number of students that are receiving the certifications. I'm just going to ask a bit more about sort of where we are there. But, I think that it's particularly with IT certifications. Sorry, hold on, toddler. Particularly with IT certifications, students could they could get like a Google certification in a matter of weeks, right? That doesn't necessarily have to go through a course. And even some of the other AWS certifications that are available, those don't necessarily need to be tied to a course. So what if, there were some clubs that were formed or an after school program or even, pairing with local professionals that would agree to work with, maybe if you say you get 10 parents that are like, look, I'll bring my kids on Saturday, like a Saturday school, like a Saturday IT school or something. Because we have just, so many resources here in kind of maybe if they can't fit it into their academic schedule or if that's not working in that vein to attract even more students, maybe perhaps shifting the time and location to, make this something that more kids can gain access to because, we know that those careers are high wage and they're definitely high demand. So, Board Member Montero, or if you wanted to respond, Dr. Cadet, sorry.
I was going to say that we actually do offer those Google certifications as standalone initiatives, and they're not necessarily tied to a student being a part of a particular program of study. Like currently, we offer the Google certification at CROOM as an example. So students are able to, go through the program, receive the Google certification. The only difference is that is not deemed an MSDE certification area. That we would count that as a stackable credential. So even MSDE has a baseline of this is what you need to say that you have a credential or a license in this particular field. So whatever that standard is, that is the test that we provide to the students. Things above that, we call those stackable credentials. And we try to also make sure our students are exposed to those stackable credentials as well. So it's funny that you mentioned that because we had a meeting today talking about what are some other innovative ways that we can provide our resources to students and families. So yes, that is definitely one of the topics of our conversation.
Board Member Montero.
Thank you very much, and good to see you again, Dr. Cadet. big fan of your important work. I think the world of what CTE represents in terms of a pathway of opportunity. So in that spirit, I just want to revisit, and maybe it's related to my first question, just with an HR lens, because I remember your presentation December of 2019, where a number of the pathways were, had students in them, but the students were not able to take the certifications at the end of the rainbow because we had staffing issues. So I'm not coming from a place of jamming anyone up. I just, I do want to understand where are the pain points as we try to find resolution.
Got it.
And so, and also I would like to see sort of a census of how many students are in those pathways you mentioned over the last 2 years. I guess an update from the last time I saw this report. So that's kind of my question.
Okay, that's a two-parter. I'll start with the first part. So yeah, we still have challenges in terms of the vacancies. We've done a lot better around that. We've been working very closely with HR and I believe Dr. White had alluded to that we even work with HR to have targeted job fairs that we're focusing on CTE teachers. We even have someone specifically on our team that their focus is working on making sure we fill our vacancies, right? So the challenge is financial. I'll give you the example of nurses. So we had an instructor out of Stutland, and she was our substitute, our long-term sub. She's full-fledged nurse, had every credential in the world. And she said there are two things that are holding her up from moving forward. She said, one, you know how much money I make as a nurse in COVID? She said, I'm part of the rapid response team and they fly me out to different places to go deal and to just, she was like, I'm making 6 figures on top of whatever else I was making. I was like, oh. She said, and then you all want me to go to school and get more classes and what? So one of the challenges we're having is that we have people that are coming straight from industry and we are not able to match what they can make in the industry in the classroom. So then we have to find people who have just a love of teaching, just a love of a true call to service to want to give back. And it's not hard to find them because they're out there, but then it's the matter of the onboarding them and then helping them see the shift from you're not a foreman on a work site, so you just can't say this and that happened. No, you have to show kids, all right, so you solder this way. And the reason why you use this technique versus this technique is so forth and so forth. I remember we tried to hire a chef for one of our culinary programs, and he said, do you understand that he said to come to work here would be an insult to me professionally, just based on the salary. And I was like, well, he was like, no. He said, what you're offering me, I'm making 3 months. I said, okay. So I say all that to say that we are in the process of still looking at students coming fresh out of CTE-focused colleges and universities, trying to catch them early. We're also building partnerships who have those seasoned people still come in and can do guest lecturing or spot featuring or a quick technical session with our students just to make sure that they're still getting that experience and exposure from people that are currently in the field. And we are working to build our bench. We are working to identify potential candidates. And we're also trying to look proactively at what our gaps are in terms of people we know they're coming up on retirement. They've indicated, I got 2 more years here. So we're really in the process of being proactive in identifying best fits and filling in those spots as needed. However, we are not in the same vacancy spot as we were in 2019. We're in a much better place now.
The other thing I would say, and I think the pandemic in nursing was a good example, it's caused us to really think out the box. And because if a student gets to the end and then they don't have a teacher whose credentials that they can test under, then they can't test.
Right.
So when we find kids, like we're scrambling at the beginning to say, you know, and I think technology will help us over time. Like, can we merge this class at another school with this, you know, can we work with a teacher and figure out, you know, the
Right.
overage that we can support the teacher if she'll take on 5 more kids. So we're trying to really think about how to be more innovative, because the last thing we want to do is put children in a position where they can't even sit for their credentialing test in the last year simply because, you know, there's a lack of a staff member or something happened. So it's caused us to really think differently about how we approach it, and to think of just other opportunities that we can make sure that we have staff.
Right.
Yeah, no, I appreciate what, again, A for effort. I know you're trying.
Yeah, and I'll also ask HR for that list for you as well.
Thank you. Yeah, because I think the challenge being the opportunity, right? Like the travel nurse example is a great advertisement. If I'm a high school student, I'm like, you're making what? Like, put me on that track, you know? So it's a challenge to retain, but what a great selling point of like, you can get down this yellow brick road and there's a pot of gold there in terms of going into nursing or any of these other fields. So I don't want to minimize how hard it is. I just, that's what I'm looking for. So thank you.
All right.
Real quick.
Go ahead, Alvaro.
Member Adam Stafford, real quick. I wanted to clear up something. Mr. Montero, did you still want the census of the student participation?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
wrote that down too. John Paul, that's just updating the charts that we did before, where the programs exist and how many students.
Absolutely. Got it.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the presentation. I also wanted to echo Board Member Montero and ask if I could also get those census numbers. I also just wanted to add and say that I'm glad to see that more outreach is being done in terms of what programs are available for students. So I'll be honest, I mean, middle school, I only really heard about the big 3, aerospace, science and tech, IB, but when it came to CTE and then programs more career focused, never really heard much about it. And so I love that now, you know, we're taking that extra effort of advertising it in school, using Naviance. And I think you mentioned from like 5th grade. I mean, in 5th grade, I don't think we were talking about careers yet. And so I'm glad to see that this is how we're going as a county, and look forward to see these numbers increase. And so I'd also like to get those numbers as well. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. No problem.
So I just have one more question. I wanted to know a bit more about our passage rates, and sort of how are we incorporating a lot of the literacy work that's happening in math and ELA into our CTE programs, because we know those tests often require a lot of math, and you know, some students may need some support with some of those foundational skills.
So we we also offer a math mastery program with our Summer Explorers Camp. So to address any type of math gaps. And primarily what we have found is, I'll use construction for an example. We actually offer construction algebra for students in construction, because we know that that's a different kind of math that they navigate. So where we do find the areas that we can find alignment in terms of with our core subjects, we definitely work to make sure that those students receive that support. I think, what was it, last year, Dr. White?
Tutoring.
We did, yeah, we offered math tutoring. One of my instructional specialists, one of my program coordinators, and myself, we did some math lessons for some of our students who were getting ready for the apprenticeship examination and construction test. So we definitely make it a point to hone in on those skills that students need more practice on, and we provide those supports.
The other thing I would add is that when our first literacy plan came about, we did literacy across every content, and we had literacy tasks where students had to write, and they had to write in everything, whether it was physical education, whether it was creative arts, whether it was CTE. And over time, as we move to now the literacy plan 2.0, we built those writing tasks into all of our content documents. And the reason we did that was because we identified that writing in mathematics is different than writing in reading, is different than writing for social studies, is different them writing a prompt in response to a science task. And so we really wanted students to begin to understand how writing can look different given the topic, given the course that they're in. And so we try to really work to make that a natural part. Our literacy team is available to all of our other content teams to help them look at their curriculum documents, look at the tasks that they have in place, spend time with them to help them hone in, make them better, see where gaps are based on student work. And so, because we want kids writing in every single class. Dr. Cadet and I did spend time with some students. He talked about the apprenticeship program and really asking them, like, where are we missing the mark? Where did we miss some things? Like, what could have helped you now that you're here that you didn't have? And so he mentioned, like, he partnered actually with the math team to get certain pieces to make sure that we had that in place. And that was for construction. But I definitely think it's important. We started talking about this whole boot camp and countdown to kids taking TSAs. What does that mean? What does that look like? Where did we miss skills, especially coming through a pandemic and you had unfinished learning? Like, what did they really miss, and how can we provide extra support to them and getting them prepared for their TSA exams?
Thank you. So, maybe with the report that we give to Board Member Montero, we could also include some of the passage rates for the different areas, and just to know a bit more about some of the bright spots where students are really knocking out of the park, like which programs, which instructors.
Yep.
This is a topic near and dear to me. I taught in a CTE school for many years, and I just know a lot of our educators coming directly from industry, this was their second career. And so incorporating literacy into like a welding class is something that folks need a lot of support with. And so I know that can make a big difference for students in passing those industry exams.
Yep. So I'll make sure that we combine all of that when we send the package. Once I get all of the data from HR, I'll send everything at one time.
Okay, great. I had another question, but I think I can just shoot it over via email. And did any of my colleagues have any other just follow-up questions for Dr. Cadet? All right. Well, I know there's something cooking up in the CTE department this spring that maybe we'll be able to talk about in the future, coming down the pipeline in relation to careers. So really looking forward to that. But I'm really grateful for everyone being here this evening and getting some of these great questions answered. So I look forward to us connecting again, and we'll follow up with you, Dr. White, on some of the items we mentioned here tonight. So thank you all so much.
Thank you.
And we ended on time.
We ended before time.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, we do have to move to adjourn.
Yes, we do. I forgot to do that last time. Okay, sorry. I'd like to move to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
So moved.
Oh, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So we are adjourned the meeting. And again, thank you, Dr. White and Dr. Cadet.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us. Everyone have a wonderful week.
You as well.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone.